The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is The Loudness, where our random, rowdy, and raunchy band of misfits create top 10 lists of life's most insane shit. Be scared. Nothing is off limits. So congratulations.
You just made the list!
I'm the Music Gods playing, and this is another edition of The Loud List. I believe this is show number 17, if I remember correctly. For this one, we have the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Harley. She has come back so that we can do an idea that we've kind of had on the burner for a minute. But, life throws stuff at you. And, life is life. You got to handle that before you can do crap that it doesn't really earn you any money. So with that said, I will let her introduce herself and give you some background if you haven't heard the previous episodes so that you will know who she is, where she's from, what she does, all that fun stuff. Hello.
Hello, everyone. I am Harley, the host of the Asylum with Harley and Joker, which we've kind of hacked it down to just the Asylum now. So we do a true crime horror, just like a variety podcast, and we have brackets on it, and it's a lot of fun. We air during Big Brother season, because we started doing Big Brother show on there. We are doing it on Saturdays instead of Sundays because, Big Brother's on Sunday, and I can't do my show and watch Big Brother at the same time.
Is Big Brother still on? I didn't even realize it was still on.
It's season 27.
I was going to say,
I haven't watched it in season 1, and then I got kind of pulled into this, so it is what it is.
I think the last season I watched was 14.
Yeah,
15.
I haven't watched it until last season I actually watched was season 1 many years ago, and so I'm watching this one.
Yeah, the last one I watched, the one that had the rock star dude and his daughter on it. I think it was 13 or 14 or something. Anyways, today we're doing, it's a top 10 list with a bonus list. I'm not really going to call it a top 10 list because my list
it was hard just to narrow it down to just 10.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have, I didn't order them. You're going to get 10 and then you're going to get the bonuses. So speaking of bonuses, we will start with Harley's bonus list. And let me get this over here because I don't have. All right.
Do you want to go back and forth or just name them all at once?
You're going to do all your honorable mention. I'll do all my honorable mention, and then we'll go back and forth.
Okay, so
main 10.
This was kind of hard for me. So I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys because, I was in the 90s. I was like teeny bopper in the 90s. And, I was boy band era in the 90s, the early 90s. Okay, then I have I'll Come to You by Hanson. And then I have Tevin Campbell, Tell Me What You Want Me to Do.
Hold on, let me get these typed out. Hanson, which one was it?
I'll Come to You.
Oh, I love that song.
I like that one better than Bop.
I would say that was actually one of the better. That one, and there was another one like towards the very end.
My headset's single battery.
I don't remember I'll have to look up that record. There was another one. My son Zach's mother, she was a fan. And I teased her because I thought Mbop was the silly dumb song and that they were going to be like the silly band. Then I actually listened to the record one day. She was listening to it and I was like, wow, they're actually pretty talented. Like they're actually like good songwriters. So.
For them being a young band, yeah.
Okay, well, who was after Hanson?
I have, hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to switch phones real fast because these ones are screaming at me.
Oh.
It's what happens when kids use your devices. I have Tevin Campbell, Tell Me What You Want Me to Do.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then I have a Cisco song.
Who?
Cisco.
Oh, Cisco. Yes. You know what's funny about that song?
What?
A lot of people don't know or don't realize the guy who wrote the thong song is also the same guy who wrote Wanted Dead or Alive and You Give Love a Bad Name. It was written by Desmond Child. He also wrote Living La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. So,
and then why is it connecting to other devices? Okay, I've got Korn Falling Away From Me.
Yeah.
And then I have Meatloaf's I Would Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that. And then I've got,
Yep.
Are you connected? Yeah, you're connected. hold on one second. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've got, and then my last one is Keith Sweat's Twisted.
Oh, yeah.
But with that one, it was hard to pick which one I wanted to put in my honorable mention or in my top list.
Why did I? Okay. So for my honorable mentions, I ended up with a list of 18 songs. And as I stated before we started recording, I kind of divided the list. The 10 main songs are going to be the ones that when you hear them, you just crank the radio. The honorable mentions are the songs that maybe you don't crank the radio, but you definitely sing along to. You know, you bob your head. Those songs that you play and repeat. So the first one for me that came to mind, a lot of these on my honorable mention are ones that were played. I DJ'd a lot of parties for the dormitories when my first year of college at Saginaw Valley State. We would have dorm parties. So me and my college roommate DJ'd a lot of these, and a lot of these are songs that were big at those parties. So the first one is Alana Miles with Black Velvet. Next one is Mark Cohn with Walking in Memphis. All right. So we had some leg there.
I thought it was B for a minute. I'm like,
no, that's my internet. Comcast better not be working on shit. We will edit this. The next one, I don't know if it caught it or not, but the next one we had to throw in the white boy. We had to throw in Snow with Informer. Don't know half of what he says. And ironically, Snow is still around. He now lives in Jamaica and is married to a Jamaican woman and still is producing new people and still sounds pretty cool. Next one is Montel Jordan. This is how we do it. Next one is Jesus Jones with Right Here, Right Now. This one wasn't necessarily a hit, but it was on the soundtrack of a movie. And while the movie had a number of great songs, and while this band had a much bigger hit in the 90s, I chose the Goo Goo Dolls with Long Way Down, which was on the Twister soundtrack, because that's a right proper rock and roll song, as my friend would say. So then we have Lit with My Worst Enemy. We have Warrant with Cherry Pie. And another one by an artist who had much bigger hits in the 90s, but this was the song that just makes you fucking want to jam out. It's Janet Jackson with Black Cat. Because Black Cat was that song. It had that guitar in it, man. And, almost like Beat It with Michael Jackson, man. It was just, you kind of had to just.
yeah.
So those are my honorable mentions. Those are the ones that didn't quite, And if I would have done this list solo, which occurred to me, and I may go back and actually do a solo one and just do another, because there were so many. I stayed away from country songs. I stayed away from like the slower R&B songs. So obviously I didn't do like No Scrubs. I didn't do like any En Vogue, Destiny's Child. I didn't do,
My list is just all my top 10s all over, because it's.
Yeah. So mine's kind of all over, but I stayed with those songs to me that really made the crowd move. So, I didn't go real deep because the list got big really fast without any research.
Yes.
And I figured if I started researching, then I was going to end up with like 400 on my list and it would never be able to narrow them down. So heads up, there may be a solo episode coming up with a top 20 for me. That is not this list. So with that said, get the cursor over here. Dude, what's your first choice for your main?
Okay, my number 10 is Everything I Do by Bryan Adams.
Oh, Lord.
I told you, it's all over the place.
That is one of those songs. I got to interview Greg Bissonette recently, him and his brother Matt were the bass players for David Lee Roth, also Rick Springfield. Greg is, or I'm sorry, not Greg, Matt. And Matt is currently, he's the bass player for Kevin Cronin band, because, Kevin left REO Speedwagon and is solo now. And I was telling Matt that, do me a favor and tell Kevin that he's responsible for like the most traumatic part of my teenage years. And Matt's like, what do you mean? And I was like, that fucking song, I Can't Fight This Feeling. Like, it wouldn't go away. every station, every 5 minutes, walking down the street.
Well, that's like Barbie Girl. Barbie Girl is the same way.
Yeah.
I can't stand that song now.
So I Can't Fight This Feeling and Everything I Do were similar in the sense that they were slow songs and they were good songs. I'm not saying they're bad songs, but they just took on a life of their own and would not go away. And it's like, fucking hell, how long is this goddamn song? And a song's supposed to hang around for like 5-6 weeks. You know, these songs hung around for like 20, 30, like almost a whole entire fucking year. And it's like, God, just go away. Put a new song out. Like, I'm tired of hearing this song 37 times a day. But I love Bryan Adams. And that Waking the Neighbors record was a phenomenal record, man. I can't tell you how many times I cranked that fucker like so loud. First one on my list, number 10, and it was the first song I thought of immediately because it was one of my favorite songs, House of Pain, Jump Around. You know, it's just one of them big, giant, bombastic songs. I was a fan of Everlast actually before he formed House of Pain. He had a solo record before that. He was actually signed to Ice-T's label. He was the token white boy on Ice-T's label called Syndicate Records. And he had a song called I Got the Knack. And I had that record because huge fan of Ice-T, and hey, white rapper signed to Ice-T's label, got to have it. And when Jump Around come out, I was like, God, I know that voice. Where I know that voice from? Because I hadn't seen pictures of him or nothing. And it's like, I know that voice. Where do I know that voice from? You know, and when I saw the picture, it was funny because Everlast is actually, he was raised in California, born and raised in California and in Chino Hills, and he had moved to Boston. So I was like, well, that's funny. He went from being the Cali kid to being the Boston Irish kid. So House of Pain is my first one. Jump Around. Your next one.
It is Cream by Prince.
Yeah. I did not put any Prince on my list simply because I couldn't decide what Prince one I wanted to put on there.
That's like him and Michael Jackson in the 90s. They hit like huge.
Yeah, I didn't put any Michael Jackson either for the...
I didn't put any Michael Jackson because it was hard to pick just one.
I was leaning heavily towards They Don't Care About Us. That's another one like Black Cat that it's got that guitar riff in it that, you know. Next one on my list, another one huge at dorm parties, got all the ladies up shaking their ass. Digital Underground with the Humpty Dance is the dance. Yeah. And yes, I know I'm a terrible singer. Sorry. I don't apologize. I still do it. But yeah, Humpty Dance, man. It was a funny song, but man, it had that groove to it. And there were so many songs Digital Underground had that, again, were, you know, Humpty Dance was the big one, but Sex Packets and Do What You Want, Do What You Do, you know, I mean, Digital Underground, they had some slaps, man. Like, they had some tunes that could...
The 90s was a good era for music. It really was.
Yeah. For a different kind of music. I mean, you went from the 80s of being a lot of very, what do I want to say, a lot of very...
hair bands.
Well, not just hair bands. You had a lot of the synth-oriented pop. The Cyndi Lauper, the Tears for Fears, the Cutting Crew.
See, I think 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s was an early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's the music thing for me. But anything after like 2005, it's not like we've got some good ones coming now, but it's taken a while to get good ones back.
Who's next on your list?
I've got Savage Garden, Truly, Madly, Deeply. I was torn between that and Marcy Playground, Sex and Candy, because both of those were about the same for me.
So I have an affinity for Savage Garden, especially Darren Hayes. Darren is a phenomenal singer, and I love his solo work. Battle Scars and Battleships. He's got like this double record. And man, like, he is such a fucking phenomenal singer. I really, really like Darren. Darren is just one of them. People always say, you know, what's your guilty pleasure? What's the one thing that you listen to that would shock people who, you know, knew you? And I'm kind of like, I don't think anyone would be shocked by what I listen to because I'm known for listening to everything. But, you know, two things. it would probably be Darren Hayes and Air Supply are two people that I just love because, even the headbangers got to have a chill moment on occasion. And those are my go-tos, sort of like calm shit. So I definitely respect Savage Garden. Next one on my list, we are going to get a little bit of hair metal. I really hate calling these guys hair metal because they're not metal at all. Hair band, yeah, probably. Even though they hate the term, they had possibly the best hair in the genre. Nelson, I Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection. They were so good and still sound freaking amazing. I love now that they are doing, half of the Nelson thing, and then they do like a second set of their dad's songs. So I love that they're combining like, their legacy and their original stuff. So yes. And, also got to send love to them because Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yes, I know it came out in 88.
But that's still a good movie.
But the very last song in that soundtrack, there's a band called Power Tool. They do a song called Two Heads Are Better Than One, which is the song that plays during the credits. And a lot of people don't know because legally they could never say who it was. But Power Tool was Matthew and Gunnar Nelson and Dweezil Zappa. So it was like a not supposed to happen unofficial supergroup because Dweezil was on a separate label from Nelson, and Nelson's label said you can't put their names anywhere on this because of their contract. So Power Tool, pretty much everybody knows who it is now, but at the time, Power Tool was just Power Tool. There was no who it was written by, who they were, nothing. It was just Power Tool. So yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry. Next on your list, your last pick was Savage Garden. What do you got?
My next one is What's It Gonna Be by En Vogue.
And what's it gonna be? I don't know if I've even heard that.
What's it gonna be?
En Vogue had that other song like Janet Jackson that had that guitar riff in it. I can't remember the song. I can't get the name of the song, but I know it had that rocking guitar riff in it. Free Yourself. That's what it was. Free yourself.
Yep.
Or free your mind. That's what I think it made. Free your mind. Blah, blah, blah.
And
anyway,
the rest will follow.
Yeah. Next one for me is a band that shockingly is still around, still sounds awesome. And they had a mixture. That was sort of one part pop, one part dance music, and like one part in between. It's the band EMF with Unbelievable. There was something about that song, man. Much like Youngblood currently, when the Youngblood come out, I wanted to hate them. And Youngblood was the same way. I wanted to hate Youngblood so badly. Like he was brash and cocky, and I don't want to like this kid. And then I just heard the music, and it was like, fuck. And EMF was the same way. Like I didn't want to like EMF. That Unbelievable was a good song, so I listened to the record, and the record was even better. And I was like, God damn it! Like I can't hate him because the record's really, really good. So I actually become a fan, and yeah. Unbelievable is what it was.
My next one is Bad Touch by Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah. I'm not going to comment on that because I have my issues with Bloodhound Gang. So my next pick, there were 3 or 4 songs by this band that could have potentially been, but the one I went with is Offspring with Self-Esteem. As somebody who has suffered with issues, you kind of connect with this song of struggling with doing what needs to be done because
I get it. I have that same issue.
You know, sometimes your brain won't shut the fuck up long enough to do what you got to do. So Self-Esteem by Offspring, but you could easily, get a job, Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Any of Offspring songs.
Yeah, I mean, they had a number of songs that were up there that could have.
Well, I mean, and some of their songs have been taken and like remixed. Like Pretty Fly for a White Guy, there's a band that has remade it into World of Warcraft songs.
Oh, nice.
And it's now Pretty Fly for a Draenei. And so, like, every time I hear that Pretty Fly for a White Guy, it automatically goes to that now.
Nice. I love it. What's your next one?
Nice and Slow by Usher.
I almost had that on there. But as I stated, I stayed away from the slow songs, the country stuff that way. That'll probably be a separate whole list. I just did a show recently with greatest 90s R&B groups with, my boy Excursion, and we had fun going back over all the R&B groups. We did the groups. So, we had and if I love Shy. Shy was one of those groups, man. God, they were so good. Next one on my list, when this group come out, I thought they were like the greatest thing because I loved their sarcasm. I loved that nothing about them was serious, that all of their songs were just basically talking shit about people. But instead of it being hip hop, it was borderline metal hard rock. It was Ugly Kid Joe with I Hate Everything About You. And I almost chose Neighbor, but I chose, because it was just, that song came out right at the same time as Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. And literally you could turn MTV on at the time and those videos would play back to back repeatedly throughout the day. And that video of them on the beach with a blow up doll, it was literally just them putting a middle finger up to all of the conventions of society. And then they followed it up with Neighbor, and it was just like they were literally thumbing their nose at, the whole PC thing before it even exploded. And, Whitfield he performed the song right before Youngblood at the Sabbath thing. And he still sounds really, really great. And I was like, damn, for a guy who hasn't seriously toured in 20 some years, our boy could still fucking rock his ass off, man. I was like, damn. Yeah, Ugly Kid Joe needs to come back out with a new record. So next on your list.
I have Nobody by Keith Sweat.
You went with all the baby making songs. Oh, Keith Sweat, man, I like Keith. Keith was one of those guys that, him and Barry White, Luther Vandross, Shy, and they had that baby making music. That's why there's so many damn 90s and 2000 kids, because of music.
My daughter's in 2004.
I'm saying. The next one would not have been on my list, except in the process of making this list, I had to run to get ice from Meyer. So right before I left, I was listening to Digital Underground, the Humpty Dance song, on my YouTube Music. So I got in the car and I hooked it to the Bluetooth. And as I started down the street, Humpty Dance finished and this song came on. And I was like, damn, I would have totally forgot this song. But it was another song that when we did the dorm parties was this slapping song. Ina Kamosi with Here Comes the Hot Step. It was just another one of those songs, man. It had that beat and cadence to it that, it was a badass song. And as soon as it started playing, I was like, oh, damn, I forgot that one. That was a jam. That was definitely one that, you could have an empty floor and that one everybody would get up and get down to that one. So, yeah. Next on your list.
My next one is Keep Your Head Up by Tupac.
That's funny. We're pretty close for our number threes. I have Tupac, but I have California Love. Just because Pac was another one. There were 3 or 4 of them that I was looking at. And I just kept thinking the consummate one was, California Love.
Well, nowadays, Keep Your Head Up resonates with me a lot more.
No, I get that,
And so that it sticks in my head a lot.
Yeah. There's not a wrong answer with Tupac, truthfully. It's just
I swear to God, if that man was still alive, he would be up there with Dog and Dre and all of them. He'd be just as much of a legend as them.
Yeah. So I've had multiple discussions over the years about the greatest rappers of all time. And, Pac and Biggie always come up in discussion. And people want to throw them into discussion. And I'm kind of like, okay, yes, they were great.
For their time.
But here's the thing. Can you really put them among the greatest of all time based on the fact that they truthfully only had 2 to 3 records?
Before they died, yeah.
Before they died. When you're comparing them with people like
Dre and Snoop Dogg and
people that have got 12, 15, 20 records.
If not more.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
is it fair to compare them? Because at that point, if we're basing it on just a few records or less, then why is nobody discussing Big L or Big Pun? Because Pun would have been a massive legend as well, but only did those 2 records. Big L would have been probably the biggest of them all, but only did 1 record. Because if you listen to Big L's first record, Big L was that boy, he had, he had a way with saying stuff, man, that was, and there's a reason L got killed, man. Like, L didn't mince words, man. Like,
there's a reason they all got killed that's
well,
been killed. So
I'm saying no, L got killed though because L was disrespectful. Like L was like, if you listen to Nems currently, L was like an earlier version of Nems, like he didn't give a shit what he said, man. He was just, he gonna disrespect your grandma, your mama, your baby, your dog, your parrot.
Exactly.
Oh, this motherfucker gonna disrespect you with the cookware you cooked with. Like he was just good at insulting shit. And unfortunately, wrong dude took it the wrong way and couldn't take that L like a man, and had to be a bitch about it, sadly. So number 2, what do you got for number 2 on your list?
I have Meredith Brooks' Bitch. That is my anthem right there.
Yeah.
And like between her and Alanis Morissette, they both were coming up about the same time.
Yeah.
And they both were powerhouse women singers for that type of genre of music. And so for them, that is her song that most females nowadays resonate to.
Yeah, there was another song in that period, and I can't think of who.
And like Alanis Morissette, she dated
Dave Coulier.
Yeah. And there's a couple of her songs are about him.
Yeah, or so they say.
Well, no, she said it was about him. Like he listened, like there's an interview where he listened to the song, and a lot of what the song was, I think it's You Ought to Know. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff that was in the song lined up with him.
Yeah, another song that came out at that time, I kind of have an affinity for, because it was a song that was, at the time, it was kind of shocking that a woman would put a song like it out. It was the Liz Phair song, Fucking Run. And when that would come out, I was like, damn, that's a bold ass song for a chick to put out at that time, because Liz wasn't known for being that type, I guess. She was pretty middle of the road as far as alt rock went. So yeah. It was almost like a Lizzie Hale type of statement for her, man. Like I'm woman, get the fuck out of my way type of thing. And was like, all right, we hear you. Go on with your bad self. Number 2 for me, I had to do this one because the majority of the songs, I realized the majority of the songs that I wanted to put for this guy actually came out after 2000. So DMX, the Rough Riders anthem, and my immediate thought was, What Your Bitches Want, and, all the other ones. And then I realized that record came out in the spring of 2000. So I was like, damn, I was looking at his pre-2000 songs, and this was the one that, first it had that big, massive track, and, it had that stop, drop, open up, shop, and DMX, man, that voice is just, one of the most recognizable voices in all of, music. Like there was no mistaking X-Man. Like that growl was just unmistakable. So that's my number 2. Number 1, the last song on your list, the big boy, so to speak.
My number 1 is All for Love by Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and Sting.
I can't spell. And
that one has been in so many movies, and so like that song alone, just when you hear the start of it, you know what you're getting. And those 3 together doing this, that was a powerhouse right there. Just them 3, especially in the 90s.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I can't hear this song without thinking of Three Musketeers, because that's yeah.
So the final song on my list was a song. It wasn't the first song I heard by this band, but it was a song off their first major label. And it was a song that, again, you could have almost an empty room. And as soon as the opening guitar riff hit, didn't, you know, and then, do you have the time to listen to me whine?
That I love that song. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. And
so-
I completely forgot about them on my list.
Yeah. And of all the Green Day songs, I know they had bigger hits, but
that one's my favorite.
That's the one.
That line right there.
Yeah, that's the one with that opening riff, and then he starts to sing, and
it's
everything
bad. I'm a
about that song.
huge Green Day fan, so I don't know how I forgot about them on this list.
But I'm saying that's the song that just, you could have an empty room and people would literally come out of their dorm rooms down to the area, man, and be like, that was the jam. That was the song that just was like, holy shit, where did these guys come from?
And they're still touring,
yeah.
and they're still, yeah.
I don't always agree with his political statements, but you know what? It's punk. You're not supposed to. I will be the first to admit that I agree with about probably 10% of what Henry Rollins says. But I will also say I think Henry Rollins is a national fucking treasure and probably one of the greatest men walking the face of this earth. And he has an absolute right to say whatever the fuck he wants, and I will listen, because Henry is just, how that man does what he does is beyond me. Thank God that the world has Henry Rollins, So, I'm going to end this with a little bit of a political rant in the sense, I'm not leaning one way or another. I'm just going to simply say, if you are one of these people who are basing your friendships solely based on whether someone agrees with you politically, don't be an asshole. It's stupid. It's childish. It's narrow-minded. And it's exactly what they want you to do. I have so many people that I work with, Lisa and Phil are a prime example, where we are on opposite ends of the political spectrum. I love them dearly.
Nobody knows my side of views.
I respect that. I'm saying I respect whatever their beliefs are. They are free to that right. That is what is great about this country.
I've had family cut me off because I didn't agree with them.
I tell the story of my grandfather, who is 98 years old to this day, still runs his farm every day. Everybody's heard me talk about my grandfather. Many, many years, decades upon decades before he passed away, our neighbor was a gentleman named Walter. My grandfather spent 32 years working for General Motors, card-carrying member of the Democrat Party, union member, blue blood Democrat, Chevy to the bone because he worked for General Motors. Walter, on the other hand, his best friend in the world, he was a gun-toting, John Wayne-loving, Ford-driving Republican, Reagan-ite type. And those two would bicker about everything. You can't park a Chevy in my yard. You can't park a Ford in my yard. How the fuck are you? I don't know. But at the end of the day, work had to be done in the field. So when the corn had to come in Walter's field, my grandfather would be the first one at Walter's house at 5 o'clock in the morning with coffee and donuts, ready to go to work. And when the wheat or the soybeans had to come in out of our field, Walter would be the first one at our house to get it done, and then you would joke about it and you would poke at each other. But it was never so serious that you couldn't have dinner together. It was never so serious that you couldn't drink a beer together. And I have taken that lesson more seriously than probably anything else, that we don't have to agree on who we vote for. We just have to show respect. It is the lack of respect, the lack of the ability to listen to each other that has led us to this path where we're at. So please, civility and understanding that maybe we don't agree on who we voted for, but we might.
Everybody has a right to their own opinion.
We may still love all the same music, the same movies. We may all love baseball, apple pie, hot dogs. Why are you not going to be friends with somebody because you disagree on one thing, but you agree on 100? So if your life revolves so much around politics that you can't see past that, maybe get a new perspective. Step back, and see the world bigger than what it is.
Life's too short to be like that.
Yeah. You're losing out on a lot of good friendships with a lot of good people, because both sides suck. I mean, I'll say it. Both sides suck. They're the flip sides. They're the opposite sides of the same coin. They want you to fight. They want you to hate each other because that's how they succeed, So with that said, we gave you a big, giant list of 90s jams. And I'm
sure we could have gone on further
yes,
than what we gave them.
I am going to create a playlist on Spotify with all of these songs, honorable mentions and otherwise. So you're going to have about a 40-song playlist. And we're going to put it up there for you to listen to these songs if you want. Sadly, I can't include them because copyright issues will get wiped out. But with that said, be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember that music heals.